have been given this by a very special doctor, a doctor who really cares about you and your health. You're going to be hearing a true story about a woman named Jean and how whole food nutrients are dramatically improving her health. Since every person has their own unique set of health concerns, this story is not intended to reflect your case history or treatment plan. This has been designed to educate and inform you about whole food nutritional supplements and how they differ from synthetically produced vitamins. If you've ever been confused by all the hype in the media about this or that new vitamin product, then this is just what the doctor ordered.
Doctor's office, may I help you?
Yes, I was referred to the doctor by my friend Elaine, who's one of your patients, and I'd like to make an appointment. Hi, my name is Jean. For several years now, I've been trying to learn all I can about nutrition. Why? Well, not because I want to become a doctor. I'm a radio personality, and I'm quite happy with my job. The reason is that I simply don't feel very good physically most of the time. No, I don't have any major diseases, that I know of anyway. But I just don't feel the way I know I should at my age. I feel tired all the time. I rarely have the energy to keep up with my 2 young children. I often have back pain and achy joints, and my digestive system isn't working the way it should.
Okay, Jean. We'll see you next Thursday at 10 o'clock. And don't forget to bring in all the vitamins and non-prescription things you're currently taking. The doctor will want to see them.
I will. See you next Thursday. Over the past several years, I've searched for the answers to my various health issues. I've seen several doctors, but found no real relief. I've read a lot of books about nutrition and health. I've listened to several cassette tapes trying to sell this or that new nutritional product. But this is different, as you'll soon see, because this is my actual story, my journey to better health. In a moment, you're going to hear an excerpt from my first visit to my doctor and the beginning of a new discovery for me, a realization of what my body really needs in order to get over all these health problems. We brought a recording system into the doctor's office and captured on tape my actual first couple of visits. I figured that if I'm going to do a tape about a nutritional product, I want to try it on myself first. Now get ready, because you're about to tag along with me on that first office visit. After that, we'll be bringing the doctor into the studio to answer some questions I have for him. Are you ready? Let's go.
Hi, Jean. Very nice to meet you.
Hi, Doctor. Nice to meet you. Thanks for seeing me on such short notice.
Well, it's a pleasure. I understand one of your friends referred you to me.
Yes, Elaine.
She's a nice lady.
Well, she told me that she's just felt wonderful since she's been in your care, and I want to know what you're doing that's making such a difference.
Can you tell me a little bit about what brings you into the office today?
Well, like Elaine, I'm suffering from lack of energy, fatigue, both mental and physical. Kind of an achy back when I wake up in the morning, sometimes some other achy type joints, an occasional headache, just a whole gamut of just not feeling quite right. I'm starting to feel my age.
It's a common complaint. What can I tell you? A lot of people come in with it. What you been doing about it? How you been trying to fix it? Have you seen some other doctors?
Yeah, nobody can really pin anything down. People talk about kind of chronic fatigue. They talk about irritable bowel syndrome, but nobody can tell me what it is, what exactly causes it. It's almost as though it's just the way it is. So I've been trying to eat a little better, and I've been taking some vitamins, a multivitamin and A, B complex, and C.
Well, those are common guys that are out there, and certainly a lot of my patients come in with them and are really trying to self-treat because they're not feeling well. They go to the grocery store and find these things, or a friend tells them about one that helped them or whatever, and they try it.
Or you hear a really convincing ad.
Yeah, really. Did Elaine tell you how she was feeling after she started doing some of the nutrition we use?
That's why I'm here.
Good. Well, what I really do is I try to look at the whole person, number one, in terms of what you're taking into your body, how you're utilizing it, and what some of the nutrition is that we can provide to you to actually help your body heal itself and give it the whole food substances that it really needs. Because in today's lifestyle and so forth, with little kids in schools and carpools, we don't get a chance to really eat well. And if you go to the grocery store, there's a lot of food in there that isn't really food. It's imitation food. For example, have you ever seen flour that says fortified? Well, what they do is they take a whole truckload of things out of it. They put back 3 or 4 and they call it enriched.
Right, I
or
was going to say
fortified.
the breads enriched.
Exactly, exactly. Flour that's not freshly ground and turned into bread shortly thereafter has none of the nutrients in it. What they're taking away from that flour is they're taking the bran away from it. They're taking the germ away from it. And one of the reasons they're doing that is so that it doesn't go rancid. But what happens is that none of the vitamin E, none of the vitamin B is in that flour that you get to eat. This imitation food creates vitamin deficiencies for us. So you're at least trying in the right direction. You've made an effort here to go out and find some vitamins that you think might help you. And I like to take a look at them and just tell you a few little things about them. And then I like to tell you about the kind of nutrition we use and some specifics about it. The multiple vitamin here is a common brand, and a lot of people do take this. But in actual fact, it's just an accumulation of biochemistry. There's little, if any, relationship here to foodstuffs. Vitamins were originally elements in food. It stands for vital amines. And these parts of foods are the things that keep us going and contain all the vitamins and minerals and cofactors. But when science came along and took these various foods and they said, well, this one has this nutrient in it and that one has that, and they basically extracted that particular element from that food, and then they tried to reproduce it chemically. They, quote, purified or synthesized chemically elements of that food. And for one reason, it's cheaper to synthesize it than it is to actually go out and harvest it somewhere. And so it turned out to be an incomplete thing, because the way nature put it together so it had all the vitamins and minerals it needed to complete its activity in this process.
And the synthesized ones don't have all those pieces.
That's exactly correct. So when you read down your multiple vitamin here, it reads like a who's who in vitamins, but in actual fact, it's really deficient in a lot of things.
So you're telling me what I went out and bought and I've been making my family take to assuage my guilt for the poor nutrition I've subjected them to because of lack of time, etc., is all been for naught.
And actually, maybe even one step beyond that. Incomplete vitamins create vitamin deficiencies. And this is where your friend was she was worsening her condition because of the nutrition she was taking, and she thought she was trying to help herself. She did so well when we just purely took her off of her nutrition that she was taking, which I have a real hard time calling nutrition. It was vitamins. They were not complete foods. And put her on a product that we use called Standard Process. And when she started taking those, her body just came together and everything started working very, very well.
So I run out and I take all of these vitamins. First of all, I pay a lot for these vitamins, and I take them and they're actually making me worse.
What happens when you take an incomplete vitamin is, guess where that vitamin will get the other cofactors necessary to complete its activity?
It's going to take them out of your body.
Exactly. It's going to take them out of your body. And if you're not taking in proper foodstuffs that allow you to be able to replenish some of that, then what's going to happen to you?
You're creating imbalances by what you're taking.
Imbalances, deficiencies, and when you have deficiencies in these items, can your body run properly?
No.
You may have felt good when you first started taking them, but in time, what happens when you deplete the other cofactors that your body has available to complete the activity of this? You're going to feel worse and worse and worse. And I think that's what you're telling me. I'll give you just a brief example. Vitamin B4 exists in food, but it's never been synthesized, meaning they've never been able to reproduce it scientifically.
So it's not part of what I take as a B complex.
No. So guess what happens when you take this multiple vitamin? Where does it get its B4?
It's got to take it out of your body.
Right. And if your diet is incomplete in a particular area of foodstuffs, you may already be out of it.
Yeah,
and therefore, some chemical process that ought to run in you isn't running.
That's why I'm taking the vitamin in the first place.
Exactly. So the vitamins you're taking could, in fact, be contributing to what you have. They could really be making you worse. No one can duplicate nature. If science were to try to make the pharmaceutical carrot, you would be deficient in, guess what? Everything science hasn't admitted to yet is here, and everything they don't know about. So consequently, they can't make a pharmaceutical carrot because it'd be deficient in everything. And they don't recognize certain vitamins. They say, oh, that vitamin doesn't exist. Have you ever heard once in a while they come up with a new vitamin? Mm-hmm. Well, where was that vitamin hiding out? Where was it up until this point?
They just didn't know where to
Exactly.
find it.
It was in whole food, but they just didn't get around to it yet. Now, The vitamin C is an interesting story because they allow vitamin C to be called ascorbic acid, but ascorbic acid is the antioxidant protector of the vitamin C complex, much in the same way that the eggshell is the protector of the egg. What's in the complex are vitamin P, vitamin J, and vitamin K. I know you've probably heard of vitamin K, but you say vitamin P. I've never heard of vitamin P. What is that? Or vitamin J. Vitamin J actually carries the oxygen, and vitamin P is the anti-fragility factor. There's another element in the whole food source of vitamin C, and that is tyrosinase. And it's a copper enzyme, which your body needs to make hemoglobin, to keep you from becoming anemic, and so forth. So there's lots of things in the whole food vitamin C that your body needs. Ascorbic acid, on the other hand, which is this chemical teased out portion, it's deficient. It cannot have the effects on the body that vitamin C has. It will not cure the common cold. It will not treat other conditions that vitamin C will. And in the studies they've conducted where they've monitored people's diets, and they figured out that people actually eating foods rich in vitamin C was much more effective than them taking ascorbic acid. There's an enzyme in our body that actually gets rid of ascorbic acid. So if nature put an enzyme there to get rid of ascorbic acid, it must have known that we didn't want the eggshell. We actually wanted the egg.
Well, and didn't I hear somewhere that you couldn't possibly eat enough oranges to get the milligrams of vitamin C that you're looking for? So what's the answer?
Well, the answer to that is to be able to take a nutrient that's concentrated the foodstuffs into a food concentrate that you can take then as a pill. The other one you've brought today, vitamin E. Vitamin E is very much like the vitamin C in the fact that it has this antioxidant protective coat on the outside, which is made of what's called tocopherol. Now, if you've ever seen a vitamin E, the word tocopherol may be familiar to you.
Yes.
There's several, alpha and beta and gamma and delta tocopherol, but they're antioxidant protectors of what's in the center of it. And the center of each vitamin is a mineral. And in the case of vitamin E, it's selenium. In addition to selenium, there's also some essential fatty acid factors that help you move calcium. So people that get muscle cramps and so forth, they say, well, I need calcium. Many times they're taking high-dose vitamin E, but they're not taking the whole food variety. They're taking this teased-out tocopherol aspect of it. And so it's actually preventing, because it doesn't have this vitamin F that moves the calcium from the bloodstream to the tissue, so they get a cramp. Also involved in vitamin E are some other E fractions that are helpful to heart health and so forth. So what I did with Elaine is what I'm going to do with you, and that is we're going to evaluate this whole picture. We're going to take you off the nutrients that are actually creating problems for you. And I call them nutrients, they're not, they're chemicals. And we're going to get you on some whole food minerals and vitamins and so forth that will help your body heal itself. Now, what we're going to do today is I'm going to have you fill out a form that I will review with the results of the examination, which I've done. And on your next visit to the office, we'll go through our findings of that and present to you a treatment program for the complaints that you've got. But I do feel that in the history that I've taken thus far and some of your material I've looked at, I think most of it is nutritionally based. I think that's where most of your problems are coming from, are from nutritional deficiencies because of either inappropriate vitamins you've taken or foodstuffs that you've not been including in your diet.
Doctor, thank you for joining me here in the studio. The first question I want to ask you is, what did you do in that first office visit with me that was so effective in diagnosing my health problems? What do you mean you look at the whole person?
It's looking at certain aspects of your body and certain little things that you may take for granted. You may say, well, I always have this or that happens or whatever. Whether it be dry hair, whether it be that you burp after you have some fats in your diet, whether or not you get a fever blister when you have a fever, or you get a fever blister when you go out into the sunshine. All of those things are telling me what's wrong with you nutritionally. For example, there are people who have herpes. And you may have heard the little joke that herpes is forever. Well, herpes may be forever, but the outbreak of herpes is really created because there's a deficiency of two specific nutrients in the body. One is calcium and one is vitamin F. So when you come into the office and you say, well, I get these little outbreaks when I get a fever or when I get in the sunshine, or possibly you may have some sort of herpes or whatever, I can tell by that that's a barometer for your body's ability to tell me what it's doing with calcium and essential fatty acids, which is vitamin F.
And that knowledge allows you to put together an assortment of whole food concentrates that work for that person.
That's exactly correct, because all of these things are connected. If you're not digesting, you're not going to be able to pick up certain nutrients, and your body's going to tell me that it's not picking up those specific nutrients by various symptoms, by various things you tell me in the initial consultation that you have wrong with you. I mean, if you're fatigued, that's telling me that you're not processing properly someplace. You're not taking in nutrients that your body needs to repair your liver and your pancreas and so forth.
So following that line of thinking, I'll fess up that my nutritional intake and my family's nutritional intake isn't where I want it to be. But are you also saying that it doesn't matter what we're taking in, that we're probably not getting enough nutrition, even if we're trying to eat well?
It always matters what you're taking in. However, you can probably not eat enough green vegetables and fruits and nuts and other things to supply the requirement that your body has.
But if nature has all the answers for what we need, then why, if I'm eating as close to nature as possible with fruits, vegetables, and nuts, can I not get the nutrition I need?
When was the last time you saw one of your children eat something with sugar in it?
This morning.
Well, what happens is various things that we eat cause deficiencies on our body, because various things that we eat that are normal and natural to us to eat today are actually vacuums. They go into our body and they suck up things that our body needs to complete other activities. And if we're not able to replace those in ample amounts, various metabolic pathways in our body will not run. So what Standard Process has done by making these whole food concentrates is they have concentrated way above what you could ever eat, and they've put it into a small tablet. And therefore, when you take that tablet, it supplies to your body all the things that your body's burning up on a daily basis, or it's burning up because you're eating something that may be inappropriate for you. You're eating a vacuum food.
So even if I'm giving my kids plenty of fruits and vegetables, they eat a donut and they're throwing the whole process out of whack. They're eating one of these vacuum foods.
Exactly. A donut. I mean, I could spend an hour on a donut easily, from the flour that's in it that is devoid of any nutritional substances, from the oils and fats that it was cooked in, which were possibly rancid, from the sugars that are on the donut. I can list a dozen vitamins you've already put at risk in your body from the eating of that donut.
Now I'm getting it. So what you're telling me is by a vacuum food is trying to make up for the lack of nutrition by drawing it out of parts of your body where it's looking for it.
Exactly.
We talked a little bit about, the empty vitamins or non-functioning vitamins, because they're actually pieces of the vitamin complexes that we need. In the past, whenever I've been feeling under the weather or feeling like I'm coming down with a cold, like a lot of people I know, I would take doses after doses of vitamin C. So am I causing myself a problem doing that?
Well, let's maybe step back and say you're taking a large dosage of vitamin C. You're actually taking large doses of ascorbic acid. Vitamin C, the FDA permits them to call it ascorbic acid, which it's one of the predominant ingredients in there. But it is the eggshell to the egg. It is not actually the egg. And whenever one takes a large dosage of any synthetic artificial nutrient, it creates imbalance. For example, if you were taking a large dose of a vitamin that was from food, like I ate too many carrots today, it might turn you yellow, but what it will not do is create imbalances with you. I mean, my daughter, when she was little, we used to feed her a lot of carrots and squash. And one day I looked at her and I said, that girl is yellow.
Yeah, your hands.
Everything starts turning yellow. But that's not what we're talking about here, because these vitamins are actually chemicals, and chemicals create imbalances in your body. For example, taking a whole food source of vitamin E, let's say, is used to recalcify bone, where if you take a synthetic form of alpha tocopherol or DL-alpha tocopherol, what happens is it decalcifies bone. So taking a large amount of a particular nutrient can actually cause harm.
I've taken vitamin B when I've been under a lot of stress. Again, now I know that I've been taking non-functioning vitamin B that isn't complete in its complex. But is there anything else that I need to know about vitamin B and how it reacts to stress, or how can I help combat excessive stress, if not by taking a vitamin B that I get out of the store?
Well, vitamin B is very interesting in the fact that vitamin B is really two vitamins. It's a vitamin B and a vitamin G. The G aspect, or components of the B vitamin, are the ones that vasodilate. In other words, they relax, where the other aspects of the vitamin B are the ones that constrict. So many times when you take a vitamin B product, they can say on the label that it's balanced in one way or another, and you look down the label and there's exact milligrams of everything in the vitamin B. That is basically saying that this thing was made in a laboratory someplace because nature never did create a vitamin B that was balanced in that particular way. The vitamin G is the one that you really need when you have stress, not the specific vitamin B factors. And Standard Process has a Cataplex B and a Cataplex G, both of which have specific effects and are needed in specific situations. But taking a, quote, balanced B of some kind or another is really erroneous. They're non-functional vitamins. They're not put together in a manner in which your body actually would recognize them as something it can use.
What is the source of most of the vitamins that we would buy in the store?
Well, most of the vitamins in the store are actually synthesized. Many of them started out as natural items. Some of them didn't start out as natural items. For example, alpha tocopherol. That's made from a soybean oil. The synthetic form of that is DL-tocopherol. And what we find in the case of most vitamins is they actually come from about 7 or 8 different chemical companies around the country that manufacture vitamins. So you may go to the store and get any brand of vitamins, but they really come from one of those 7 or 8 different companies. And then you can go into another store and buy the most prestigious one. They also come from one of those 7 or 8 different companies. And many times it's the same source.
So really the difference between most of the commercially available vitamins is the marketing.
Exactly. Yeah. And the labeling and the cost.
Now let's go to my second visit to the doctor as he recommends a Standard Process whole food supplements that I needed specifically for my unique health problems.
Hi, Gene. Good to see you again.
Hi, doctor.
I've gone through the results of the tests that we've run and also the exam that I did, and I see why you're feeling poorly. You've got several deficiencies that are apparent here. There's nothing seriously wrong. It is nutritionally based problems.
Well, that's good to know.
I bet you're happy about that, because I know a lot of times when people have a lot of symptoms, they sometimes
Wonder if there's something huge underlying.
Exactly, and that's why we had to go through that exam and do those tests so that we know that we're dealing with a nutritional problem. One thing we want to be sure of is last time I did ask you to stop taking those synthetic chemical vitamins that you had brought into the office.
I already threw them out.
Good deal. We're going to recommend several whole food nutritional concentrates for you from Standard Process. So we're going to ask you to follow the sheet of recommended doses of how many to take each day, and I've made that out for you as part of your package today. And we're going to schedule an appointment in a week to 10 days to go over this again with you and see how you're doing at that time and if there's any other changes that we need to make.
Great. I'm really excited about getting started.
Since that second visit, I've been taking the Standard Process whole food concentrates that you recommended, and I've noticed a big difference in the way I feel.
What you been feeling?
Well, different. And I sat with that feeling. What is different exactly? How am I feeling different? And I hit on the fact that this different feeling was a feeling of well-being. And because of this general malaise, this chronic fatigue, and all these other symptoms that I was having that became normal to me over a period of time, that this feeling, this new feeling of well-being that I'm so excited about is strange to me. I bet there's a lot of people out there that feel the same way.
When people's bodies start working better and more efficiently, it is a new feeling for a lot of people. It is a different feeling. We're programmed every day on the television about common diarrhea and ordinary headaches. There's nothing ordinary about a headache, and there's nothing common about diarrhea. When you've got those problems, you've got something wrong. And yet we're told that these are ordinary things that people should have. And it's not true. What you're experiencing with these products is that you're experiencing this well-being, which is probably even a little confusing to you because you've not felt it before. What is this feeling that's going on with me?
Or it's been a long time. And I think we're really adaptable creatures. And when you keep going to the doctor and trying programs and no one can nail down what it is you have or how to fix it, the overriding statement seems to be, well, that's the way it is. And you begin to believe that this is the way it is. This is life, and this is how you feel on a daily basis. And that isn't well-being. I'm feeling a sense of well-being now. It's subtle. I'm just able to do more, do things that I haven't been able to do in a long time. It's very exciting to me. Where did these products come from?
Well, the products have an interesting background. The person that started this company, Dr. Royal Lee, was a dentist. He started this company back in the 20s. And he was really an electrical engineer inventor. The man has over 100 patents. He has guidance systems that were used by NASA. He has other sorts of systems used in the Second World War.
We're talking genius here.
This man was a genius. And the company, Standard Process, was really kind of his brainchild. It was not a profit center for him. It was what he really loved to do. And so he built this company on those principles about whole foods, because these things are combined by nature in a way that man cannot combine them.
Why haven't I heard of Standard Process before?
Well, Standard Process is used by a very select group of doctors. It's not available in stores. It's only sold through practitioners.
Where do they get the raw materials to make these whole food concentrates?
Standard Process owns the fields. They farm the fields. They use all sorts of new farming methods, punch farming, where they take and actually punch the seed into the soil instead of turning the soil over, which the soil then exposes and loses a lot of its nutrients and so forth. They take all the leftover materials from the nutrient processing, they put it back in the fields again. So this material is returned back to the earth where it should be. They don't take it and throw it away. They put it back on the field.
So they're growing all of the raw nutrients that go into the products that I'm taking?
They're growing it. They own the farms, and it's all done organically. So there's no chemicals or pesticides or herbicides used in these fields.
Very exciting stuff.
It is exciting stuff. This man started this company back in the 20s, and today people are talking about pesticides and herbicides and different farming methods.
Very scary.
I mean, the man was so far ahead of his time in what he came up with this company, and it's here today for us.
So taking these whole food concentrates is a good alternative to having to pack up my family and move to some commune somewhere where everything is totally organic and natural and free of pesticides and herbicides.
Well, it's even one step beyond that. And in my visits to the plant, I saw these huge stainless steel tanks that they would take the juice and they would dehydrate it down to a 1 or 2 inch drawer that was under this many gallon huge tank that would fill up this building. They would concentrate it down, dehydrate it into this drawer, and that's what they'd make the tableting out of. So you couldn't sit down and eat enough green vegetables to equal what's in that pill.
Well, you know, it's interesting that you bring up how they put this together, because the tablets I've been taking don't look anything like the old vitamins.
Oh, you mean they're not bright orange and green and chartreuse?
Candies or something.
Right. They don't use filler agents. They don't use coloring. They don't use coatings, because what happens is if these things don't dissolve in your gastrointestinal tract, they're going to go right on out to the sewer system. And these are designed as foodstuffs. I mean, the most efficient utilization of this pill is you really should chew it. That's the most efficient utilization. But if you don't chew it and you just swallow it, what will happen with it is it will dissolve rapidly.
In the past, I've compared labels of vitamin bottles by looking at the milligrams on the label for potency, but that doesn't seem to be relevant to the Standard Process whole food concentrates.
It's really not, because when you're looking at potency, it's not how much the potency is. It's really what you absorb. And if you're missing the cofactors, if you're missing the things that nature compounded into that nutrient, if you're missing those, you can't put this thing together and use that. I mean, nowhere in nature is there 1,000 milligram vitamin C as big as a cake. And so consequently, when you go to the store and you buy 1,000 milligrams of, quotes, vitamin C, which is now we know chemically produced ascorbic acid, the body doesn't know what to do with that. It's never seen anything in that quantity. And it then has an enzyme to break that thing down. It happens that way with all these synthetic artificial nutrients, where with Standard Process, all the cofactors are there to carry on the activity. The function is still with it. So you don't need these high potencies of things to cause things to work.
Now, you've just explained that Standard Process has their own farms and their own very organic processes for farming these nutrients. What about the animal products that are included on the label?
Well, what they do is they use the DNA template from that as kind of the blueprint for how that organ in your body works. So consequently, when they take these nutrients and they put it together with that DNA template, it can actually be traced to go to the organ that it is to support. So the organ substances that are in there are used really as a guidance system to go specifically to the organ to where it's needed in your body to be able to support it, because our blueprint has gotten messed up in some way or another. It used to be historically that when the tribe would kill an animal, the first and prized parts of that animal that were eaten by them were the organs. They used to actually use the muscle meat, which is all we ever use today, is the muscle meat. They were to use the muscle meat, they'd feed it to the dogs and the lesser people in the tribe.
So what you're saying is the nutrients from whatever, the carrots or the beets or whatever is in the process, kind of bond with the animal DNA template. Is that what you call it?
That's exactly correct.
And that's how they become effective in your body.
Exactly. It's not as if they grind the organ up and throw it in there and mix it up with the carrots. They're splitting the DNA template aspect of it, putting it together as a guidance system to carry the nutritional substance to that organ.
Is this a new concept?
Well, it's actually a very new concept. It just so happened that this man was so far ahead of his time, he came up with this concept back in the 1920s.
How are the Standard Process supplements formulated to be so effective?
Well, in our environment, there are foods that are very high in specific nutritional qualities. For example, buckwheat leaf juice. That's not anything we run into every day, but buckwheat leaf juice is very, very high in the vitamin P, are the vascular fragility factors of the vitamin C complex. So Dr. Lee, in his formulation of these nutrients, would take whole food concentrates and utilize those whole food concentrates in such a way as to be able to make a nutrient whole food supplement that would be high in a particular nutritional area, such as the vitamin C complex or the vitamin E complex or the vitamin A complex. And what he did with those is he called those cataplex. And cataplex means something more than vitamin A or vitamin B. It's meaning the whole food supplement that goes along with that. All the various factors that are needed by that particular nutrient to carry out its activity. So he would combine food concentrates in such a way as he would end up with a nutrient that was very high in the specific substances that he wanted to use.
Now, you've given me a variety of whole food concentrates that are indicated for the complaints that I presented to you. Does Standard Process have an all-purpose multivitamin?
They have a couple. One is called Cyrofood and one is called Catalin. Interestingly enough, Catalin was the very first vitamin that Dr. Lee actually made. And then doctors would say, could you draw out the vitamin A in that so I can have just the vitamin A to give my patients? Or could you draw out just the vitamin E or the vitamin B? But Catalin was the very first product he made, and all the other nutrients ended up being made from the Catalin product. So it's an excellent multiple vitamin, and it contains all the vitamins and nutrients your body needs that are normally being burned up in your life with the various foods that you're probably eating today.
Doctor, in our office visit, we talked a lot about vitamins. I'm hearing a lot in the news about minerals and trace minerals. Tell me about minerals.
The story of minerals is quite interesting. Plants convert inorganic minerals to the organic state of a mineral. And the organic state of a mineral is the way we eat it and the way our bodies use it. So organic minerals are made in the plants. We eat the plants. Therefore, we don't have to eat the dirt the plant grows in, because the plant is taking the inorganic minerals out of the soil. It's converting them into organic minerals, which our body utilizes. We eat the plant, we get the organic mineral.
So the plant is synthesizing the inorganic to the organic for our consumption and absorption.
Exactly. And that's why we don't take dirt and mix it with some water and drink it and say, here, I'm getting my minerals today.
Calcium is in the news a lot lately, and osteoporosis. It's particularly of note to women. And I have children who don't eat a lot of dairy products, so it's always on my mind. Let's talk about calcium a little bit.
Well, the calcium that's actually in the blood that's used by the body is calcium bicarbonate. Now, you may have experienced, if you live in an area with hard water and you put your pot on the stove and you start boiling the water, and then you pour the water out and you notice there's this white film around it.
Like white powdery stuff.
Yeah, that's calcium carbonate. Calcium carbonate, you can walk out on the street and see. It's actually called sidewalk. It's limestone. Okay, so a lot of products have calcium carbonate in it, which is nothing more than limestone. There's about 11 biochemical processes to turn calcium carbonate back into calcium bicarbonate. Now, Standard Process uses calcium lactate, and it's not lactate, meaning from dairy. It's from lactic acid is basically what it's from. And it only takes about 2 chemical processes to turn it back into a bicarbonate. So consequently, it's very absorbable by the body. Now, we were not intended to eat oyster shells. I mean, either that or we would have had some very different shaped teeth for doing that. But what they've done is they've ground up these oyster shells and they've fed them to people and said, here's a source of calcium for you.
I always wondered about that.
Now, to directly address your question on osteoporosis, osteoporosis is somewhat of a calcium problem, but in actual fact, it's a vitamin problem. Vitamin D, vitamin K, collagen, all these elements that go together to actually allow you to be able to make bone properly. And it's not just a calcium problem.
Doctor, I want to thank you for coming in today and being so generous with your time. I really appreciate learning more about the history of Standard Process and the integrity of the product. And now when I hear about the vitamin of the week, I don't have to run out and buy it or start collecting newspaper clippings about it because I understand the philosophy and the theory of how whole foods work. Before you leave, I want to make sure that I get this because I think this is so exciting. The difference in the way I feel prior to taking the Standard Process whole food supplements is just amazing to me. So I want to make sure that I've got this. I know that we don't want to self-treat because we can throw things out of balance, that we want to find out what my individual body needs are, that we shouldn't be swayed by fad supplement stories and not waste money on something we don't need, or worse, that's something that harms our bodies. And I think I've got the importance of eating the whole foods and not creating imbalance by eating things that are partial and that take away from other areas of our body. I really like the fact that I don't have to think so much about my nutritional intake because I've got my bases covered by taking the Standard Process whole food concentrates.
Gene, what you said, I think you put very well. The vitamin of the week issue is a big one. Every time you turn around today, somebody's at your doorstep with another nutrient that just came up, some new thing that's going to do this miracle for you.
And there's nothing new under the sun.
No, not a thing. And most of those things are fake vitamins. They're not really truly vitamins from whole foods, things that you would be getting normally in your diet. When I was a child, Standard Process used to put their nutrients into a little vial. I love the vials. Had a little cork top, and I could take them out in the yard and fill it up with bugs. I love taking the nutrients. And I've been on the nutrients for at least 45, 47 years.
Wow.
And I don't think there's too many people around that can talk about a nutrient that they've been on for 47 years and done well. And I have done very, very well. My family has benefited. My patients have benefited.
And I'm benefiting from them. And they always say, if you want to know where there's good road food, watch the truck drivers. I like this idea better. If you've been taking this for 45 or 47 years, this is what I want to be taking. Thank you again, Doctor. And I hope that you have lots of time in your appointment book because I have my whole family to bring in and lots of friends that I want to send to see you.
Gene, we certainly appreciate that. Referrals are the best compliment you can pay your doctor, and we appreciate them. Thank you very much for having me.
Doctor's office, may I help you?
Yes, thanks. My name is Cindy, and I was referred to you by my friend Jean, who is a patient of yours, and I would like to make an appointment to see the doctor.
It's been about 3 weeks now since I first started working on this. After I stopped taking my usual assortment of artificial vitamins and minerals, I started using the Standard Process products. I feel very confident that I'm getting all the nutrients my body needs that may have been missing from the artificial vitamins I was taking. Standard Process has made it easy for me by concentrating the nutrients I need from organically raised whole foods. No one can make a complete vitamin better than nature. Now, the purpose of this isn't to sell you a standard processed product. You most likely received this from your doctor along with one or more bottles of standard processed food concentrates. So it's likely that you've already purchased the product. This is more like a training guide to help you understand what standard process is all about and to give you some truth for a change about nutrition and supplements.